girl, Meghan Markle. Oh, seemed like a nice lady. Just complaining. I was like, didn't she hit the light skin lottery?
You see the interview last night? Oprah returned with Meghan and Harry in what will surely go down in history as the most shocking gender reveal party of all time.
This is so amazing. So many of you here to see me, huh? I feel like Meghan Markle. This is dope.
Lot going on in the news. My God, it's so crazy out there. What's going on with Meghan Markle? She thinks that everybody is just stupid. Like we can't see that she is manipulating his dumb husband.
Prince Harry, whose memoir just broke the Guinness record for fastest selling nonfiction book of all time. They're now releasing a version for kids. I don't know if you know about this. It's a twist on The Princess and the Pea. It's called The Prince and the Penis, and it's...
They're so racist. They're so racist. Some of that he went through was not racism. It was just some in-law. Sometimes it's just some in-law.
Everyone thinks marrying a prince is like a fairy tale. Turns out it's not. Meghan Markle said that when she joined the royal family, they took away her passport, driver's license, and keys. Welcome to the royal family. Please remove your belt and get ready for a cavity search. And her husband, Harry, made a number of startling accusations.
When Chris Rock stepped onto that Netflix stage, Meghan Markle probably should have gone off the grid because what came next was brutal. And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, Jimmy Kimmel was standing by, ready to double down and finish what Rock started. By the time Hollywood was through, that royal fairy tale had turned into a full-on comedy roast that nobody saw coming. It all went down in March 2023 when Netflix dropped Chris Rock's Selective Outrage Live from Baltimore's Hippodrome Theater, his first big public moment since the infamous Oscar incident with Will Smith. The world was locked in.
This is so amazing. So many of you here to see me, huh? I feel like Meghan Markle. This is dope.
Because even black people want to know.
So well done. So brilliant. And it's like between that and the South Park thing, Emily, it's like the comedians they do a better job of bringing home someone's stupid, narcissistic, woke BS.
The biggest addiction in America is attention. We are addicted to attention. Can't get enough attention. We used to want love.
Waiting to see what Rock would say, and he didn't hold back for a second. But this wasn't your average stand-up set. Rock came prepared, and he had one very specific target. He wasn't just poking fun at random stars. He went straight for someone who had spent years painting themselves as the victim. Someone audiences were starting to tune out from hearing complain nonstop. And that someone was Meghan Markle. Rock didn't tiptoe around it. He came out swinging, calling out the contradictions in her story. He questioned how someone could marry into one of the most famous, most scrutinized families on earth and still act shocked that fame and public attention came with the deal. It was bold, it was savage, and the audience couldn't believe what they were hearing. The crowd was already cracking up, but Chris Rock was just getting started. He dove straight into that explosive Oprah interview from 2021, the one where Meghan and Harry sat side by side, dropping bombshells about the royal family. Meghan claimed someone within the royals questioned how dark baby Archie's skin might be, and that clip went global overnight. It was supposed to be her big gotcha moment against the monarchy. But Rock flipped the entire story on its head right there on stage. With razor-sharp timing, he picked apart her claims in front of a live audience that couldn't stop laughing. Rock argued that wondering what a baby will look like isn't automatically a racist thought.
Today, as yes, that's not racist. Meghan Markle, don't you dare call the royals racist. Oh man, this bit.
What's up? Even though all the news media ran with, she says there's a racist in the royal family and she never went out to correct them. Will she come out to correct herself? Because she also said the royal family's racist because there's been debates about what title little Archie's going to get. And she suggested that's because she's half black and Archie's 1/4 black. And that was her other charge of racism. And now we get the update today via the Daily Mail. Harry and Meghan have christened their daughter Princess Lilibet Diana. And they have updated the website or will now be updating the website to call little Archie Prince
It's something people from every background have done for generations. The crowd roared as he said what millions had been quietly thinking for years but were too nervous to say publicly. Then came the knockout blow. Rock went after her famous "I had no idea" narrative, that she supposedly didn't understand what life inside the royal family would really be like. He compared marrying into the world's most famous family to marrying into any celebrity dynasty and then acting surprised when fame comes with drama. The punchline landed hard. The audience erupted. Meghan's polished public image started cracking right before everyone's eyes. But Rock didn't stop there, not even close. He called out her endless complaining, saying she hit what he described as the light-skinned lottery, meaning she'd married a prince, lived in luxury, and still somehow portrayed herself as the ultimate victim. The irony wasn't lost on anyone, and laughter shook the theater. The Netflix special exploded across social media. Clips spread everywhere, and the conversation shifted fast. Suddenly, people were asking, wait, have we been getting played this whole time? Even royal commentators jumped in, calling Rock's performance a major gut punch for the Sussexes, especially since it aired on the same platform that had once...
What is she talking about? No, they're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby was gonna be. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people want to know. How brown the baby gonna be?
Okay, and he went off on this for a while. Again, this idea that everyone is a victim. He's like, no, you're not a victim. I'm sorry.
Paid them millions for their own documentary series. And just when the internet thought Meghan's night couldn't get any worse, Jimmy Kimmel entered the chat. Because while Rock roasted her on Netflix, Kimmel had been waiting to take his own swing, and his punchlines were just as sharp. When Meghan and Harry's Oprah interview aired, the one where they opened up about struggles, isolation, and tension with the palace, the world was stunned. Every talk show host had something to say, but Jimmy Kimmel took it to a whole new level. Instead of sugarcoating it like the rest of the media, he went straight for the jugular with a monologue that instantly went viral. He kicked things off by calling it the most shocking gender reveal party of all time, and the crowd erupted in laughter. But then, right when everyone thought it was all jokes, Kimmel paused and shifted tone. He addressed Meghan's claim about being silenced, saying he actually believed her. The audience got quiet for a second, thinking the mood had changed, and then boom! Kimmel hit with a punchline so sharp it had people talking for years. He highlighted the irony of Meghan and Harry saying they left the UK to escape racism, only to move to America, a country that's still wrestling with its own deep racial issues. The crowd gasped, laughed, and couldn't believe he went there. The logic didn't quite line up, and Kimmel made sure to point that out loud and clear. Then he tackled the most infamous part of that Oprah interview, the claim that someone in the royal family asked about Archie's skin tone. But instead of treating it as the ultimate scandal, Kimmel flipped it on its head, joking that the royal family had far bigger genetic concerns to worry about given their long history of marrying within their own circle.
Trying to be a victim. Like, what's this girl, Meghan Markle? Seemed like a nice lady.
She did.
Just complaining. I was like, didn't she hit the light skin lottery?
No, I added those images.
Light skin lottery and still going on complaining. Acting all dumb like she don't know nothing. Going on Oprah, I didn't know. I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family. You didn't Google these motherfuckers?
This is the biggest complaint she gets. You didn't Google these mother effers? How do you not Google these people? How do you not know the history of the royal family? And he's gonna lay into
The joke landed hard, and then came his most savage moment yet. He roasted Prince Harry directly, comparing his looks to Screech from Saved by the Bell. The audience completely lost it. It wasn't just a quick jab. It was Kimmel saying what countless viewers had been whispering online. He quipped that maybe the royals should have been more concerned about Harry's genes than Meghan's. That line lit up social media for days. Fast forward to January 2023. Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, dropped and shattered sales records everywhere. But instead of admiration, people were mostly shocked by how much personal detail he revealed, family drama, emotional confessions, and even bizarre oversharing. And of course, Jimmy Kimmel couldn't resist. He went all in with a parody segment that had audiences rolling when he joked about Harry admitting to using his late mother, Princess Diana's lip cream on his frostbitten body part. The mix of awkwardness and disbelief had everyone talking again. And once more, the royal couple found themselves back in the global spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Yes, you heard that right. Harry actually included that in his book, and Jimmy Kimmel turned it into straight-up comedy gold. He even created a parody children's story called The Prince and the Penis, a playful twist on The Princess and the Pea. The skit was so sharp, so perfectly timed, that it blew up online within hours.
That's a scientific test. Because you got to see what kind of black child you gonna get. Is this a Steph Curry baby? Or a Draymond Green baby? That Draymond baby gonna have a hard life. I know what she going through. I know what Meghan Markle's going through. I know her dilemma. Black girl trying to be accepted by her white in-laws. Oh, it's hard.
It's hard, right? That's what he's trying to claim here, but not as hard as what, Chris?
It ain't as hard as a white girl trying to be accepted by her black in-laws. You bring a white girl home for Thanksgiving, your mama gonna say something. Your mama's like, why is there a social worker at the table?
People couldn't believe Kimmel had really gone there, but that was the whole point. By that moment, Harry and Meghan had become such easy punchlines that late-night hosts no longer felt the need to hold back. The sympathy had run dry, and Hollywood was ready to roast them without limits. Kimmel kept the heat on, zeroing in on Harry's never-ending victim act. Here was a man born into luxury most people can't even imagine, complaining about the burdens of fame in a best-selling memoir. And Kimmel couldn't resist pointing out the absurdity. The irony was too rich to ignore. But here's what mainstream outlets often leave out. Chris Rock and Jimmy Kimmel didn't just randomly pick the Sussexes to roast. They were reacting to years of carefully choreographed PR moves, perfectly staged interviews, and an ongoing narrative built on playing the victim while cashing million-dollar checks. Think about it. They landed a massive Netflix deal, pocketed millions more for a short-lived Spotify podcast, and did endless public interviews, all while insisting they wanted privacy and quiet lives. The contradiction was impossible to miss.
Welcome to the royal family. Please remove your belt and get ready for a cavity search. And her husband, Harry, made a number of startling accusations. The governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, vigorously denied all of them. Just had a reflex today. Meghan said that at one point things got so bad she went to HR at Buckingham.
That's exactly why comedians stepped in, because hypocrisy is comedy's favorite target. Rock's Netflix special hit especially hard because it aired on the same platform that paid the Sussexes millions. Talk about awkward. They'd handed Netflix exclusive access to their story, and Netflix turned around and gave Rock a global stage to tear it apart. The irony was brutal, and people noticed. Meanwhile, Kimmel took a different approach. Instead of one big roast, he kept at it over time, weaving digs into his monologues, mocking their contradictions again and again until it became normal for audiences to laugh at the inconsistencies. That steady ridicule slowly changed how people talked about Harry and Meghan. It was no longer taboo to question their narrative. Kimmel made it okay to doubt the story without being labeled anything negative. And here's the twist. Both Rock and Kimmel are at the top of their game. They're not fringe voices. They're two of the most respected and influential figures in modern entertainment. When they both start calling out the same couple for the same reasons, it sends a message loud and clear across Hollywood. The impact of those comedy takedowns went far beyond laughs. They signaled a major shift in how the public saw Harry and Meghan's story, turning once untouchable royals into open-season targets for late-night humor. After Chris Rock's Netflix special dropped, everything changed for Meghan and Harry. The public mood flipped almost overnight. Polls showed their popularity sinking fast, especially in America, the very place they had once escaped to for peace and a fresh start. Suddenly, people were rethinking everything. The racism claims, the endless interviews about privacy, the complaints about being hounded while living in a luxury mansion worth millions.
That was awkward. I was a bit shocked.
Well, maybe it was that old lady right there. For reasons that have yet to be explained, Meghan told Oprah that the palace decided before baby Archie was born that he wouldn't be prince, that he wouldn't be entitled to royal protection, and that they were concerned about how white the kid might not be.
So we have in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his...
The contradictions became impossible to ignore. Comedy did what think pieces and news outlets couldn't. It sliced straight to the truth. Rock and Kimmel used laughter as their weapon, calling out what everyone had been whispering, but no one dared say out loud. They didn't need long essays or serious documentaries. All it took was a few cutting jokes that exposed the gaps in the story, and the audience instantly connected the dots. And wow, did they ever! Social media lit up like wildfire. Clips from both comedians went viral, and the reaction was crystal clear. People were relieved. Someone had finally said what millions were already thinking but didn't want to admit. Meghan's once glamorous, carefully crafted public image took a serious hit, and no amount of spin could undo the damage. The most shocking part? Neither Rock nor Kimmel faced backlash. No outrage campaigns, no apology tours, nothing. Why? Because deep down, most people agreed with them. When comedians can publicly roast you on national TV and the crowd cheers instead of defending you, that's when you've officially lost control of the narrative. The lesson here is simple but brutal. You can't play the victim forever when your own choices tell a different story. You can't say you crave privacy while signing multi-million-dollar deals to share every personal detail with the world. You can't point fingers at others while the evidence doesn't fully match the claims. Eventually, people see through the act, and once that happens, it's nearly impossible to win them back.
I thought Meghan and Harry came across well. They seemed they seemed genuine, but there was one part of the interview that didn't ring true to me when Oprah asked if they've seen a certain Netflix show.
I'm thinking because I watched The Crown, okay? I watched The Crown. Do you all watch The Crown?
I've watched some of it. You've watched some of it?
I've watched some of it.
All right, nobody watches some of The Crown. Once you start The Crown, you finish The Crown. You're hooked. Harry said racism was a big part of their decision to leave, which things are bad at Buckingham Palace if they came to America to get away from racism. It's like trying to get some peace and quiet at Chuck E. Cheese. The reaction in the UK this morning was fierce. Megxile, fights, camera action. Queen, duty and family unite us. That's public service for you, Harry and Meghan, not a self-serving TV chat with Oprah. A lot of Brits are pissed, but Harry and Meghan live here now.
By the time the laughter died down and the clips of Rock and Kimmel's takedowns had racked up millions of views, Meghan and Harry's image was officially on life support. The media narrative they once controlled was slipping right through their fingers, and this time, no amount of PR magic could patch it up. The fairy tale that began with a royal love story for the ages had now become Hollywood's favorite punchline. And what made it worse? Every move they made after that only deepened the cracks. In the months that followed, Meghan tried to rebrand again, leaning harder into fashion, philanthropy, and polished public appearances. But the timing couldn't have been worse. While she posed for glossy photo shoots and hinted at new creative projects, audiences were still sharing memes of Kimmel's parody book and Rock's jokes about her royal complaints. Once late-night comedians make you a recurring bit, it's nearly impossible to shake off that image. Every headline, every public sighting, every quote she gave was instantly turned into fresh material for more jokes. It was like an endless loop she couldn't escape. Meanwhile, Harry wasn't helping the situation. His memoir, Spare, continued to generate headlines for all the wrong reasons.
That the royal palace has HR and it's just as unhelpful as HR every place else. They also told Oprah that they've been cut off financially. Oprah was like, sorry, I already gave out all my cars. I can't help you. Meghan claimed she was silenced during her time in the UK, and after watching this last night, I have to say...
The confessions, the awkward personal details, the family gossip. Instead of earning sympathy, it left many viewers rolling their eyes. What was supposed to be his big truth-telling moment turned into late-night comedy fuel. And to make things worse, the couple's Netflix and Spotify deals were starting to show signs of strain. The content wasn't delivering the numbers those platforms had hoped for, and quietly, industry insiders began distancing themselves. Insiders in Hollywood started whispering that Meghan's brand was no longer seen as safe. Some executives reportedly viewed her as too unpredictable, someone who could bring publicity, sure, but not necessarily positive publicity. The constant headlines, the public feuds, the growing list of critics, it was wearing down her image. Even in elite circles, where Meghan once mingled effortlessly, the energy shifted. Invitations that used to come easily suddenly weren't showing up in her inbox anymore. The irony was brutal. Meghan had spent years trying to build a brand around being heard, being seen, being taken seriously. But now, it seemed like every time she spoke, fewer people were listening. And every time she appeared somewhere, it only reignited the same conversations people were growing tired of. The saturation point had arrived, and fast. Then came the real turning point, the fashion world's quiet but unmistakable rejection. Meghan reportedly reached out to designers and major fashion houses, hoping to secure partnerships, front-row invitations, and even her own brand collaborations. But according to insiders, the enthusiasm just wasn't there anymore. The industry had moved on to fresher faces and less controversial names. Her Hollywood comeback strategy was faltering.
Likes. Posting up pathetic pictures. This is me eating sushi. Like me. Easiest way to get attention is to be a victim.
There you go. He said it. He said it, not me. He said it.
Everybody claims to be a victim. When the real victims need help, ain't nobody gonna be there to help them. And right now, we live in a world where the emergency room is filled up with motherfuckers with paper cuts. Okay? Everybody trying.
And people were starting to notice. At the same time, Harry's public appearances started feeling more awkward by the day. His interviews grew repetitive, his statements more defensive, and his body language more strained. It was clear that the media pressure was getting to him. The once confident prince now seemed unsure, often contradicting himself or retreating mid-conversation. And while Meghan tried to pivot into positivity, her husband's tone painted a completely different picture, one of exhaustion and confusion. By now, even loyal supporters were starting to express frustration. Online fan groups that once defended every move were going quiet. Some were openly saying that they didn't recognize the couple anymore. What had once been an inspiring tale of independence now looked like a messy PR saga spiraling out of control. And through it all, comedians like Rock and Kimmel continued to do what they do best. Keep the public laughing at it all. Every time Harry or Meghan said something controversial, another round of punchlines followed. Every public event, every photo, every statement instantly turned into comedy gold. And the internet ate it up. That's the power of humor. Once comedians decide you're fair game, the cultural tide turns quickly. Their jokes echo louder than headlines, and their satire reaches people who would never watch a royal documentary or read a gossip column. When Rock and Kimmel roasted Meghan and Harry, they didn't just mock them. They reshaped public perception. They took a royal couple and turned them into entertainment figures. And once that line blurs, it's almost impossible to go back.
He goes on, I had to trim all this for you. We got 3 grandkids.
You know I'm playing, right, Jackie? Just give me time, give me time. Meghan Markle! I know the dilemma. Black girl trying to be accepted by her white in-laws. I'm like, hey, if you black and you want to be accepted by your white in-laws, then you need to marry a Kardashian.
Behind closed doors, Hollywood insiders were reportedly reevaluating their partnerships with the couple. Netflix shifted from full-throttle enthusiasm to cautious investment. Spotify quietly ended its deal. And other platforms, while polite in public, weren't exactly racing to offer replacements. It wasn't personal, it was business. The brand had lost its shine. What really sealed the deal was how out of touch the couple seemed compared to the times. While people were struggling with real-life issues, from rising costs to global uncertainty, Meghan and Harry's ongoing complaints about royal life felt tone-deaf. Late-night comedians didn't even have to exaggerate. The material wrote itself. Their lavish homes, luxury lifestyle, and endless interviews about being misunderstood became an easy symbol of privilege, disconnected from reality. And yet, even after all that, Meghan didn't back down. She doubled down instead, launching new initiatives, hinting at future projects, and pushing for another comeback. But this time, the public wasn't buying it so easily. The charm that once won people over now came across as over-rehearsed. The speeches felt scripted, the appearances too calculated. It was as if every move was part of a grand image repair plan, and people could see right through it. The most fascinating part of this entire saga is how it all came full circle. Meghan and Harry's story began as a rebellion against royal expectations, a stand for independence and authenticity. But over time, that message got buried under layers of branding, media deals, and contradictions. What started as a story about freedom became one about fame.
Who can blame her? Imagine after centuries of inbreeding, all of a sudden these people are concerned about the color of a baby's skin. Prince Charles has the ears of a basset hound. They're worried about the skin. And by the way, they should hope that the kid looks more like Meghan than Harry. No offense, but I mean, Harry kind of looks like the guy who played Screech, may he rest in peace.
And once comedy got involved, that's all the world saw. Not victims, not revolutionaries, but celebrities desperately trying to stay relevant. That's why Rock and Kimmel's impact can't be understated. They didn't just roast Meghan and Harry, they cracked the illusion wide open. They reminded audiences that even the most polished stories can crumble when the truth doesn't match the presentation. And in doing so, they shifted how the world views the couple. Not as untouchable royals, but as part of the same celebrity circus they once claimed to reject. It's a wild fall from grace. And maybe, just maybe, a lesson for every public figure out there. You can control the narrative for a while, but once the audience stops believing it, no amount of glamour can bring it back. And you can't expect the world to ignore contradictions forever, especially when every move, every headline, and every interview starts telling a different story. Chris Rock and Jimmy Kimmel didn't need to create drama. They just did what the best comedians have always done. They held up a mirror, told the truth through laughter, and said, "Look at this. Really, look at it." And when people did, everything changed. The glossy royal illusion cracked, and behind it stood a couple who had built an entire brand on victimhood, a story that was no longer selling. For years, Meghan Markle was treated like Hollywood royalty who had married into actual royalty, a perfect merging of worlds. But what began as a fairy tale turned into a cautionary tale. Rock and Kimmel didn't destroy her reputation. They simply exposed what had already been falling apart behind the scenes. Their jokes cut deep because they hit where it hurt most, the truth. They said out loud what millions were already whispering.
Everyone at the time was like, you've got to do Meghan Markle, you've got to do Meghan Markle. And I thought that would be a good little added thing, you know, with the Britishness.
I'm assuming Chris Rock does a bit on her.
He must do a bit on her. So
Okay.
I found the clip.
Okay.
We genuinely have not seen this,
Okay.
including myself. We still haven't got round to watching the whole special, which we really need to.
Does Meghan Markle make her own pretzel bags? They don't know why.
That's interesting. She takes it from one bag and puts it in another bag.
There's another bag.
And that's
Meghan came into the royal family as the outsider, the one who would modernize the monarchy, bring fresh air into a centuries-old institution. But somewhere along the way, the fairy tale lost its sparkle. Instead of being seen as a symbol of change, she became a symbol of contradiction. Preaching privacy while signing multi-million-dollar media deals, preaching empowerment while constantly playing the victim, and criticizing royal life while still using the royal status to build a Hollywood empire. That's what Rock and Kimmel zeroed in on. The inconsistency. The comedy world doesn't chase people who are irrelevant. It goes after the powerful, the overexposed, the ones everyone's talking about. And Meghan fit that role perfectly. By the time those jokes hit the airwaves, she and Harry had become the ultimate pop culture paradox. Two people desperate to escape the spotlight who somehow couldn't stop stepping into it. The irony was too good for comedians to ignore. And once that door opened, there was no closing it. Late-night television has always reflected the public mood, and this time was no different. When Kimmel's parody book, The Prince and the Penis, went viral, it wasn't just about the joke, it was about what it represented. It showed that the couple who once commanded global sympathy were now being openly mocked on mainstream television. That's when you know the tide has turned. Once the laughter starts, it's almost impossible to regain control of the narrative. And Meghan knew it. She reportedly tried to pivot, to move toward humanitarian causes and fashion ventures, hoping to reset her image. But the internet never forgets. The clips from Rock and Kimmel kept circulating, the memes kept spreading, and the narrative stayed stuck. What was once her biggest weapon, her ability to shape her own story, became her biggest weakness. Every new interview felt like deja vu. Every new statement only reignited the same old debates. The public was exhausted. It's not that people suddenly hated her, it's that they stopped believing her. And in today's celebrity world, that's far worse. Once the audience decides you're not authentic, every move feels like performance. That's what the comedians picked up on, and that's why their jokes landed so hard. The laughter wasn't cruel, it was cathartic. People laughed because they'd had enough of the contradictions. Chris Rock, with his sharp social commentary, and Jimmy Kimmel, with his smart, satirical wit, tapped into something deeper than gossip. They exposed a truth about fame, privilege, and how public sympathy eventually runs out. Their humor wasn't just about Meghan and Harry, it was about what they represented. The disconnect between how celebrities see themselves and how the public actually sees them. And while the royal couple kept pushing forward, launching new projects, giving new interviews, and trying to steer the conversation, the damage was done. Once comedy turns on you, it's a cultural verdict. Late-night hosts are often the pulse of the entertainment world. They say what journalists won't. And when both Rock and Kimmel independently started roasting Meghan and Harry, that was a sign. The untouchable duo had officially become fair game. Even Hollywood insiders quietly began to back away. Collaborations slowed down, invitations dried up. The couple who had once been the hottest story in town were suddenly being met with polite distance. The laughter on stage had real-world consequences off stage. Because when the joke becomes the headline, your brand loses its shine. And it's wild to think how fast that shift happened. From a royal wedding watched by billions to a comedy sketch trending on YouTube, all in just a few years. Meghan's journey from adored duchess to late-night punchline is one of the fastest reputation flips in modern pop culture. And the most fascinating part? It didn't happen because of scandal or politics. It happened because of comedy. That's the real power of humor. It doesn't just entertain, it defines who's in and who's out. When audiences started laughing at Meghan and Harry instead of with them, it marked the moment they lost control. Because laughter is the one thing you can't PR your way out of. You can deny rumors, you can spin headlines, but you can't convince people not to find something funny. So, what's the takeaway? Simple. Authenticity lasts longer than attention. People forgive mistakes, but they don't forgive manipulation. The audience doesn't expect perfection, it expects honesty. And when someone's actions and words don't match, the comedy world steps in to balance the scales. Rock and Kimmel just did what everyone else was too polite to do. They called it like they saw it. And in doing so, they didn't just roast Meghan and Harry, they redefined them. They turned two former royals into Hollywood characters, part of a never-ending pop culture story about fame, image, and self-awareness. The fairy tale didn't end with tragedy, it ended with a punchline. The world has moved on, the laughter still echoes, and Meghan and Harry now stand as a reminder of what happens when the public stops buying what you're selling. The stage lights may dim, but the jokes live forever. If you enjoyed this deep dive into how Hollywood flipped the script on Meghan and Harry, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Drop a comment below. Do you think Rock and Kimmel went too far? Or were they just being real? Share this with someone who's been following the royal drama, and I'll see you in the next video, where we dig even deeper into the wild world of fame, fortune, and fallout.